Welcome to the Soulful CXO. I'm your host, Dr. Rebecca Wynn. Please take a moment, remember to like, subscribe, and share the show. We are pleased to have with us today Lisa Plaggemier. Lisa is the Executive Director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance and an advisor on U.S. Secret Service Cyber Investigations Advisory Board. She's dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to navigate the digital landscape safely and ensuring everyone can harness the benefits of technology worry-free. Her prior roles include executive positions at Ford Motor Company, CDK Global, InfoSec, and MediaPro. Lisa is recognized authority in cybersecurity and a frequent speaker at major industry events, including RSA, Gartner, and SANS. Lisa, it's so great seeing you again. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I have to start off and ask you, how in the world did you get from being in marketing to technology and then, doing all these great cybersecurity initiatives?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a straight line, but I don't think many of us have careers that are really. Yeah, I'm a people person and a communicator, and marketing just seemed like the best fit for me. So I spent a long time at Ford, which really is an iconic brand. I mean, you've got Henry Ford assembly line and the Model T, and there's just a whole lot there to dig into brand-wise if you're a marketer. So I feel like I cut my teeth at one of the biggest brands in the world that's, globally recognized, and got a lot of great experience there, and advertising and marketing and merchandising and all those things. Then I took some time off to have kids. And when it was time to come back into the workforce, I found myself at a technology vendor, mainly to automotive retail. And it used to belong to ADP, the human capital management company, I think they call it now. It's the big payroll company that we all know and love, because many of us have had pay statements that have that ADP logo on. And so they wanted to do thought leadership around cybersecurity issues. It was around the time of the Jeep hack, if you remember that. And you had all the automotive manufacturers seeing that on the nightly news, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen to my brand. I don't want to be next. And we felt like because we belonged to ADP, we had a pretty solid security program. So I was the marketing person assigned to work with the business security officer from that division on thought leadership for cyber. And so we did things like, I got a speaking spot at JD Power Automotive conference, and then ADP announced they were going to spin us off. And I got, I was bit by the bug. Like, this stuff was fascinating to me, aside from, marketing SaaS applications, which frankly was really boring compared to marketing F-Series and Mustangs and things like that. I like tangible consumer products. That was a lot more fun than B2B. But when they announced we were getting spun, he asked me to join the security team. And I said, well, what am I going to do? I mean, you guys are, what do you need me for? And he said, well, I want you to keep doing all the thought leadership stuff. I think we should keep doing that. That's really important. And we're going to need infinite communications. Like, somebody's got to keep the executives briefed during an incident. And then, oh yeah, we're going to need a training and awareness program. Well, training and awareness, what's that? Oh, that stuff ADP makes us do once a year. And I said, well, nobody pays attention to that. Like, you click on that while you're on a conference call just to get it over with, just so you don't end up on the naughty list. And I'm like, people hate that stuff. I don't want to do that. Said, well, okay, then I'll make sure we have a decent budget, and I'll give you a free rein, and you can do something really that actually is interesting and gets people's attention. And that was it. I was, really happy to make the transition, and that chief business security officer that I worked with is still one of my best friends today. So that's kind of how it happened in a nutshell.
For those out there who are not familiar with the National Cybersecurity Alliance, can you explain a little bit what that is, the initiatives they have, and how you do work with small companies as well to these big companies on their initiatives for cybersecurity and protecting yourself as an individual?
Yeah, so we are the founders of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We've been doing that. The 21st Cybersecurity Awareness Month will be this October. And we've had a cooperative agreement with what was then DHS at the time, 21 years ago, what's now CISA. We've had a cooperative agreement with them for 21 years, mainly to execute on consumer awareness campaigns and industry campaigns for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. But aside from that, which most of us know about, and most of you, if you're a security professional watching this, you're pretty tired of security by the end of October. Well, you can blame us every October, but just keep in mind that people like your kids and people like your mom probably still need to hear all this stuff. So we do consumer campaigns all year round. We've done one in the summer. It's the Cybersecurity Survival Guide. It's kind of got like this national park look and feel, and it kind of talks about what to do if, you clicked on the phishing email or you've got a malware infection. Like, what are those survival tips? We're doing a campaign on all the different things that can go wrong in the process of selling and purchasing a home. From how busy you are getting your house prepped to sell, and like how susceptible you might be to like a phishing email or something during that time because you're just really distracted and incredibly busy, trying to purge of all the stuff you've accumulated and get your house like painted and get out of there, all the way through to, things that we think about more frequently, which is the fraud that can happen, during the transaction itself, that money gets wired someplace it wasn't supposed to go. So there's just a lot of places in that transaction where there's weak points. So we've got consumer tips about that. We talk about safe holiday shopping at the holidays. We talk about usually romance scams and safe use of dating apps around Valentine's Day. Pick any kind of topic, whether you're giving your kids their first phone or you don't know how to use the parental control apps on devices and apps. Any topic you can think of that has to do with your average human interacting with technology. And really a lot of it is the same sort of 4 core behaviors that we preach. Phishing and all kinds of social engineering, using MFA, having better password habits, which probably means using a password manager, and then just keeping everything up to date and patched. It's not so much about the advice being different for different demographics. It's about customizing the message for people from different walks of life and different age groups and employed, not employed, students, retirees, whatever it is. It's how you package that advice that makes it engaging for them. And then we have some industry events that we run as well that are for executives and a lot of CISOs. We have an event in the market site every year for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we have a lunch at RSA every year. Things like that. But our main focus is educating the people who need it most, like my mom and my kids. That's 2 examples. 20-somethings and 80-somethings. I feel like I spend a lot of my time keeping them out of trouble. A lot of it.
And those resources are free. I'll make sure that we put that on the descriptions for everybody.
Right. And we have campaign kits. So if you don't have a dedicated training and awareness manager, or you do, but you only have one and you have a lot that person is trying to accomplish or what have you, or you don't have resources to do graphics and write copy, we have campaign kits. You can download the whole kit. You can customize it, do whatever. There's no trademark or copyright on anything. You can do whatever you want with all of it to make it fit your organization and push it out to your employees. So it just makes it a lot easier to run awareness campaigns. I should also mention we have a program to get more HBCU students into cybersecurity careers. We have a small business education program that aims to teach business owners how to manage cybersecurity as a part of their business, as opposed to, like, we don't try to teach them to be technical. We teach them how to know what questions to ask their IT person or their MSP, how to manage that function, because they know what to say to their lawyer. They know how to talk to their accountant. They have no idea how to talk to their IT person. So, so that class is going on, and a couple other things in the works, a couple other programs.
The key point there is budgets are always tight. Mm-hmm. Here's a free resource by people who are experts in the area to help you. And then if you don't see something that really is pertaining to you, write them so they can go ahead and see how they can help you. Or maybe that's something that's actually other people won't need it as well too, and then they can help get it developed.
We look for input all the time. If there's something that you feel like would be really useful, like this year to the Cybersecurity Awareness Month toolkit, we're going to add short how-to videos, like really simple things that people like my mom struggle with. How to enable MFA on Facebook, for example, things like that. We're going to start including more video content in those toolkits.
Why do you think, after all these years, going ahead and falling for similar type of phishing things constantly? Obviously, we have voiced and phishing, and we have AI
Yep.
coming into the picture, which makes it more challenging.
Mhm.
Why? Is it just because humans are humans that we keep struggling with it? Why do you think we keep struggling with it?
Yeah, I think technology isn't designed to be secure. I mean, I'm a big fan of the secure by design initiative that CISA is pushing. When you think about things like the safety culture in the airline business, right? Like how that evolved over time. There's a guy named John Elliott who gives a really good presentation, it's probably recorded up there on the internet somewhere, about the evolution of the culture of safety in airline. And you can really see like how we're probably on a parallel path. Or Bob Lord has given a from Soulful given a presentation on the auto industry and safety. I've done the same thing from a little bit of a different angle because I'm a kid from Detroit. Um, but the parallels between like the evolution of automotive safety and software safety. And I think we're still at the advent of figuring out like how to design things that are a little more foolproof than the way they're designed today. Um, the other thing I'd say is that for those 21 years of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it's only been the last couple of years that we've decided that the message should be consistent every year, that we should focus on those 4 core behaviors. So when I first joined the National Cybersecurity Alliance, I remember seeing a document. It came from the technical folks at CISA that said, like, here's the things we should be focusing on for October. And it was literally like 20 pages. And any good marketer will tell you, or behavioral scientist, well, people can't remember all that. They won't engage with it. It's just overload. But I think we sometimes have a hard time prioritizing insecurity because we're thinking about all of it all the time. Um, but that most people aren't, you know, most people just need to know the basics. And if you think about the 3 or 4 things that would do the most good if everybody did them, it's those 4 things. And so I'm a proponent for staying really focused with the end consumer and everybody singing off the same song sheet and not changing that message until we see that it's made a difference. Because until we've made headway and more people have adopted those behaviors, then we absolutely shouldn't be changing the message and changing the focus unless we decide there's something else that's more important than MFA that people can be doing, that boots it off the list, then fine, but I don't think we're there yet. So it's really a matter of just good marketing practice or consistency, repetition, customized content depending on the demographic that you're talking to. It's all those basics. But there's been for a long time this communication chasm, I call it, between like what's happening in the world of cybersecurity and your average consumer. So just I think we're getting better at bridging that gap. We just have to stay the course.
Today, for a lot of CISOs, maybe CIOs, maybe CTOs, staying the course is really tough. We're getting pushed to have smaller staffs, go quicker. And a lot of times we feel like we have to compromise our ethics, which personally I won't compromise my ethics.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the security by design, the privacy by design, what we see in the contracts is what we're actually going to do. What you want me to sign off on, I'm not going to sign off on unless I know that is exactly what we're doing. I'm not going to put my name on that bottom line. What do you recommend people do along those lines? I know that you just had a top talk at RSA about that, where that's on a lot of people's mind is what do we do?
Yeah, I realized when I got into security, when I moved over from marketing, that your security team is really like sort of the barometer for the ethical health of the company, that you see so many things that nobody else sees. And it became really clear to me that if your personal values don't align with the values of the organization, then you're going to be in a really stressful position. And it was actually an executive coach that helped me really crystallize that for myself. I mean, we live in a world where we see a lot of bad stuff going on all day, right? You think about, the folks you have that spend half their time in the dark web or trying to infiltrate organizations and they're seeing some of the worst of humanity because they're not just looking for like planned attacks on the organization. They're coming across human trafficking, weapon sales. Like there's just, it's the worst of humanity on the dark web. And so I think a lot of the folks that I've met in security have a lot more clarity around, what's right and what's wrong. Because we kind of do battle with a lot of evil stuff every day. And not everybody else in the organization has that exposure and sort of has that moral clarity on what's right and what's wrong. And I did my share of trying to influence from within. It could be something as simple as like an incident that's affected a customer and like, what do we tell a customer? And I remember a situation where I found somebody who I knew, like the most senior person that was responsible for that customer relationship. I'm like, if I tell this person about this, then they're going to make sure that we do the right thing and are really transparent with the customer. And so I did that so that she could tell the C-suite what we were going to do. So you can sort of do those, you have those situations where you can influence from within because you want to see the right thing. But at the end of the day, like if your values don't align, then you're probably giving yourself a lot. We already have enough stress in the world of cybersecurity, and that's an added stress that you probably don't need. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. I think, you can also approach it from a policy perspective. One of my early bosses said, like, whether or not you're going to pay ransom should be a policy decision that you make, not in the moment when your hair is on fire and the attack's already happened, but you make that as an ethical decision. Like, do we want to pay criminals? Do we want to fuel more cybercrime? Like, is that the kind of company that we are? Is this who we are as an organization? Because most people can look at that equation and say, nope. Like, that seems like people have clarity. I don't want to give money to criminals. But you can see what happens in when that actually happens. The decisions that people are kind of, forced to make, unfortunately, because they're just looking for a way, they just got to stop the bleeding. And I think if you make it a policy decision, that or any other decision that you might have to make in the middle of an incident, like if you have policies that address some of those things in advance, then you can say like, well, okay, if we don't want to have to pay cyber criminals in a ransomware, then what do we need to do to be prepared? And maybe that helps you to get more budget or to have, more resources to justify what you have to do to make sure if that happens that you're not in a bad spot because you have this policy that says we're not going to do this. So therefore, this is what our preparedness needs to look like. We're probably partnered with sort of legal and HR in how much we are dealing with just right and wrong on a daily basis and all the ethical challenges.
Yeah, I partner quite a bit with risk management if they have a risk management group. When we talked right there about were you paying cyber criminals or things like that, a lot of people, when they bring me in as an advisor, I immediately look at their contracts. I look at their cyber liability insurance if they have that, their private equity, for example, if they are funded, and what is those requirements. So before you get to writing a policy, you need to make sure you understand what the requirements of the upstream is, because one, you can find yourself in legal hot water very quickly for that. Or you might find out that they had requirements to report and you didn't think about it because you're downstream from them and causing a lot of chaos. Is that what you see too, where they don't think holistically?
Nobody asked security to review that contract before it got signed. Yeah. I remember being with this CISO once when he got a phone call to review, I think it was a sale of a subsidiary, and they gave him like less than 24 hours to review the deal. Because nobody thought to talk to security before they divested themselves of that part of the company. Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate. It's a lot of that is relationships too. Making sure that you have allies around the organization and people know who you are and what you do and what business value you bring. That you're not the department of no, that you want to work with them, that you're there to protect the organization from, unintended things happening. And I think the business security officer model, the more organizations I talk to that have that model, I've worked in a company with that model, like I think that really helps a lot to be more embedded with the business and keep track of things like that, like contracts.
I'm always one of those hybrids because I have a big legal background. And one of the examples that I had is I came in after a merger and acquisition. I always tell people, let me review it before you do it. Because things weren't adding up, and I started looking at it, and I found really their chief information security officer, all of the people that he had hired to do assessments of the company, he actually spun up LLCs underneath his own name. So he was signing himself off on every single thing.
I think you have to have a decent insider threat program. That means that somebody's watching the watchers. Seeing things kind of go sideways as well. It's just important to have transparency, as much transparency as you can possibly have. And then, yeah, somebody's got to watch the watchers.
What do you recommend for people out there who might find themselves in an organization? You find out that you're with that company and maybe what you thought was their values, after you're there, the values aren't really lining up. And so you feel like you're compromising yourself to work there.
Right.
But it's a really tough job market right now. I always tell people there is a right company out there, a right situation out there for you, and it's not worth giving up your soul for. But what do you recommend? Because I know you do a lot of mentoring.
I think it's really important to have something to run to, not just be running from something. A lot of us have a lot of reasons, that we would leave our employer tomorrow, right? There's things all of us don't like. Some of them are more soul crushing. And get to sort of the core of who we are as people and our ethics, which way our compass points, those things can be more stressful, mentally, than some of the other things we might not like about our employer. But I just really think it's important to have, to know, not just know why you're leaving. Cause if you're in that kind of situation where you've contemplated leave, you know why you want to leave. It's more important to know why you want to go to your next employer. What is it that you're looking for? And, do they have a mission that you align with? Do they have a people first culture? Do they have, servant leaders? That's really important to me, that I'm working for folks that don't have, a lot of ego and have a lot of emotional intelligence. But I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but I've seen that in action. I've seen organizations that know how to interview for that. And they make sure that when they have folks that don't fit with that culture, if you keep the bad people, the good people are going to leave. So for me, that's another big litmus test. If there's people that are toxic and the organization tolerates them, or they're even celebrated and promoted, then that's a big red flag. So I think it's even more important that you make a good decision the next time around. You found yourself where you are for whatever reason. So I just think you don't focus on I got to get out of here, I got to leave, that negativity. I think you focus on, what is that thing that I'm running to, and what am I looking for? And when you find the right place, you focus on how you make that happen, as opposed to, leaving a smoking crater behind you, or I like that. I think you leave with your own integrity intact, and leave gracefully and go on to your next thing, but focus on what's next. I think that's important.
I think one thing that's been real important for me is I just got done doing almost a 15, 20-year review. Painful, but learning.
Wow.
And one of the things that I was noticing is that certain situations which did not align with me, did not make me feel like I could be my true authentic self, my full self. Some people might call it flow, that I could really just be who I am naturally. It's interesting how I kept being attracted to the same things that were said, maybe on paper or in interviews or things like that. And then once I got there, it wasn't true. And because I did not reconcile that before going ahead and going to my next opportunity, I was calling that back into my life again. And so that's one thing I tell people too, is because I get people ping out on LinkedIn, they just got laid off or whatever, or do you know sister job I can get? And I'm like, my biggest thing to you is take a pause, take stock, look at what you liked, what you didn't like, what you learned, what you really want to go ahead and would like to be still in your life for the next 5 years, and really take an opportunity to really evaluate that. So then when you're looking at new opportunities, you don't call back into a situation that didn't really resonate with you. I wish I had done that 20 years ago. But is that what you found too? Because I know that you have transitioned a few times as well.
I think you brought up a really good point about like what you see on a website and what you see in a company's LinkedIn page and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of marketing that, some of it gets written without any regard for whether or not that's really the company's culture. And it's just words on a screen. And so what I found to be really helpful is during the interview process, particularly if you're getting into like the second or third or fourth round and you're sort of interviewing them, like you're a little bit more in the driver's seat, or maybe it's after they've made you an offer and you're contemplating it. My favorite question is, tell me about a time when you had a situation where you exhibited that value. It was really, really challenging, but you stuck to that value. Tell me about, give me an example. Because if they can't do that, if they struggle to find an example of things that they do on a daily basis or tough situations that they've navigated while being true to that value, if that's a hard question for them to answer, then that should be really, really clear to you. Because I used to see, I saw the same thing like right out of college, my first 10 years in the workforce at Ford, where policies were, they were policies, but at the end of the day, if we had a discussion about something, the question that we always asked ourselves was, is this the right thing to do? Like, I know what the policy says and I know what, whatever, but is this who we are as a company? Is this really the right thing to do? Or do we need to change the policy because it doesn't support us doing what we think is the right thing to do? And I was really surprised at a company the size, a publicly traded company the size of Ford, that you would hear that kind of discussion, that people had that sort of like ethical compass, and cared that much about what their company stood for. So I think really honing in on how you're going to suss out in those interview questions, the things that are important to you. I'll give you a really good example. So I was interviewing for a VP of marketing position with an organization that I knew I wanted like a really intuitive people leader as a CEO. Like I knew that was really important to me because I'd worked for one that was like best guy ever. Like he could read everybody like a book, and use that in ways that were really, really productive and helpful to everybody, because he really had he definitely people first kind of guy. And servant leader. Like he really tried to understand everybody on the executive committee and figure out how everybody could best work together to run the organization. And so I asked this person, what are you looking for on your executive committee? Like, I know you're hiring for a VP of marketing, but are you looking for somebody that challenges everybody else on the executive committee? Or are you looking for somebody that builds consensus? Or like, what are you looking for? And he just couldn't answer the question to save his life. He kept saying, well, I have a VP of sales and I have a customer relationship person and I have this and I have that. I need marketing. Like he just thought about it as that function. And I could tell then that sort of like managing a team and understanding team dynamics and understanding how humans relate to each other and everything, and not being able to define sort of the prevalent team dynamic on his team so that he knew what he was trying to affect. Like what was he trying to change? Like what did they need as a team to function at a higher level? That told me that wasn't his skill set. And he was a brilliant person. Had an amazing background and resume, and all of the successful company. He was the founder. But that told me that no matter what the position was or what the salary was, I was not going to be happy. And I think that me asking him that question was awkward for him as well. And he knew then also that I wasn't like that. Like we came to a very clear agreement, that like, this isn't right for either of us. Cause I'm asking him this touchy-feely kind of question, that's looking for how intuitive he is as a leader. And like, he doesn't even understand the question. So it kind of made it really clear that it wasn't the right fit. Clarity like that is always helpful in life because it makes it really easy for you to just keep moving. Like I could see exactly how that went. I'm going to the next thing. instead of contemplating it and worrying about it and agonizing over some kind of decision.
I want to thank everybody for joining us for this episode. It's totally flown by. Please go ahead, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share the show. We mentioned several resources that we will get into the description, as well as Lisa's information. Please go ahead, if you haven't already, the Soulful CXO Insights newsletter on LinkedIn. Please also subscribe to that. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Learned a lot from you, and you're an inspiration to many of us out there. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.